Ali Ayaz Paşa Hoca, Ali Paşa Hoca nerede ya? Merhaba diyeyim, Ali Paşa Ayaz Hoca. Ali Hocam neredesin Ali Paşa Ayaz Hoca?
Buradayım bak, el sallıyorum. Nasılsınız, iyi misiniz?
Hocam beni hatırladınız mı Erzurum'dan benim dersimi dinlemiştiniz?
Hatırlamam olur mu yani?
Şeyle birlikte, Kemal Doymuş'la birlikte
Evet.
dinlemiştiniz.
Kemal Hoca da sabah oturumunda vardı, şimdi göremedim ama.
Ha. Nasılsınız, iyisiniz Ali Paşa
İyiyiz
Bey?
vallahi, uğraşıyoruz. Hayat devam ediyor. Çalışıyoruz, uğraşıyoruz.
Maşallah.
Sizde ne var ne yok? Uludağ'a geçtiniz galiba.
Evet, Uludağ'a geldim 2015'te.
İyi.
Siz,
Hayırlı olsun.
sağ ol. Siz şu anda herhalde Ankara'dasınız değil mi?
Ben evet, Bilkent Üniversitesi'ndeyim. Ben de 2010'da gelmiştim buraya.
Ha.
Devam ediyoruz.
Evet, herkes bir tarafa gitti, geldi işte.
Evet.
Öyle oluyor.
Dünya yuvarlak hocam. Her tarafına gidilebiliyor. Tamam hocam, görüşürüz. Konuşmacının şeyini almayalım şimdi. Bir de Türkçe konuşuyoruz. Şey olabilir, uygun olmayabilir.
Tamam.
Hoşça kalın.
Hoşça kal.
Salih Hoca, sesin kapalı. Bir şeyler diyorsun ama kime diyorsun bilmiyorum. İçeride birine diyorsan sorun yok bizim için.
Yok, unuttum. Sorry about it. Yeah, very sorry about it.
No problem.
Today, in our first keynote speaker is Professor Tetsuya Izosaki. It is pronunciation, no problem?
Yeah, no problem. Thank you
No
very much.
problem.
Yeah.
He is from Hiroshima University, Japan. Actually, he's currently studying about historical approaches in science education and lesson analysis for pre-service teachers and science festival for younger. Today, he will talk about several factors of successful science education in Japan. Please, you can start. Again, thank you very much for accepting our invitation and give this speech.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor and Dr. Sari. Today, I'll show you the several factors of the successful science education in Japan. May I start? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, merhaba.
Yeah.
In Japanese, konnichiwa. But in Japan, in the nighttime. So today's topics: why do Japanese students get higher scores in mathematics and science in the international comparison, such as TIMSS and PISA? There are several factors to answer the question as following. I focus two sections. First one is the some characteristics of science lessons in Japan. I'll use the data of the TIMSS 1999 video studies. The second one is the lesson study of continued professional development in Japan. The American professor Stigler, he is a member of the TIMSS video research and published the teaching gap, the best idea from the world teachers for improving education in the classroom. They analyze the Japanese the point of the lesson study to get a higher score of the children. So today's topics, keywords is the science lesson. The second one is science teachers under the professional learning community, right? So this is the score of the international comparison, the trend in international mathematics and the science studies. The blue line is Japan, the orange colored line is in the countries. This is the team's result. Every time Japanese student more than higher level every time. Maybe every time Japanese ordering number is the first to the fifth, maybe the fifth. Right. The second one, the score of the international comparison program or international student assessment, we say the PISA. Every time the Japanese student can get a higher score more than international average. International average means about 500, but much more than the Japanese student can get. However, I have to say that, of course, high academic achievement is not always a good thing. An individual happiness cannot be only measured by academic achievement. It's very, very difficult problem. Yeah. So this is the background of the Japanese school system. The Japanese school system after the World War, recommended by the general headquarters, mainly the United States, and modified the Japanese education and school system. 6-3-3-4 system. 6 means elementary school, 3 years for lower secondary school, and 3 years upper secondary school, and 4 years universities. Elementary school and lower secondary school total 9 years of compulsory education in Japan. However, nowadays, I guess more than 98% of the lower secondary school students go to upper secondary schools. Very, very higher level of the enrolling the upper secondary schools in Japan. And about 50% of the upper secondary school students go to the higher institute, including the junior college. Junior college means the 2 years university, right? So 6 and only the 3 year total, only the 9 years of the compulsory education in Japan. Wait a minute. In Japan, we have a science, but in Japanese, Rika or the science is a compulsory subject from elementary through upper secondary schools. So every student must study science. But elementary school from first grade 1 to the grade 6, science starts at grade 3. No science in grade 1 and grade 2. In Japan, subject science has been taught for more than 150 years. But for 2/3 of that time, there has been no science subject at the lower grade, grade 1, grade 2, some cases at grade 3. In lower secondary school, started at grade 7 to grade 9. We have one subject, science, known as science, but divided into 2 fields. The first field, physical science, included the physics and chemistry. The second field includes biological and earth science. In Japan, science divided 4 subjects: physics, chemistry, biology, and earth science. Earth science included the astronomy, but physics included a little bit astronomy, so combined. upper secondary school, starting grade 10 to grade 12, student must science subject, but science is a selective compulsory. We have one balance of science and separated science to a basic and advanced physics, chemistry, biology, and earth science. Okay. So, Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science, and Technology, we say MEXT have determined the course of study as the national curriculum standard for all schools from kindergarten through upper secondary schools, which have revised every 10 years. So, national curriculum have revised every 10 years. For example, the course of study for the lower secondary school science includes overall object of the subject and content for the first field and the second field, and the syllabus design and handling the content. The MEXT have authorized all textbooks which can be used in schools based on the course of study. In Japan, there are 5 textbook companies which publish the lower secondary school science textbook authorized by MEXT. I'm an author of the one of 5. The textbooks are distributed free of charge in Japan, in elementary and lower secondary school. And also, upper secondary school are supported by the MEXT. So, students of the upper secondary school student can buy the very cheap price of the textbooks. And also, this is the one of the most important points. Students from elementary school through the PhD courses at the graduate school and university can learn and study science or science education in Japanese for long time. So, of course, at the university level, we are teaching in Japanese and also required to our students to read the papers written in English. But students can make and write a PhD and master courses, master theses written in Japanese, right? It's very important for Japanese students. Okay. There are several factors. For example, Japanese culture in education. Education is said to be the nation's 100-year plan, and it is traditionally emphasized. Many parents in Japan intend to spend their home budget for education. In private sector, many students informally go to Juk school. Juk means a cram or private tutoring school in the evening after the formal school, from elementary to upper secondary school. Some parents also employ a private teacher or a tutor for their children. This is very important for the university student because the university student also be a teacher of the Juk school as a part-time lecturer, and also they got the money to being a private teacher. Okay, and also the second factor, teachers work harder. As a result of the teaching and learning international study with Paris by OECD shows the following. The first one, teachers in Japan report spending an average of 54 hours working per week, compared with 38 on average for tourist countries. So Japanese people works very long time for a week. The second one, teachers in Japan report spending 18 hours, OECD average 19 hours, less than average in Japan. However, Japanese teacher spend a lot of time on planning for planning their lessons. This is very important practice. So the first one, the science lesson in Japan. As I told before, I use Teams the result of the Teams video studies. Teams video studies conducted by 5 countries: Australia, Czech, Japan, Netherlands, and USA. In Japan, Japanese science lesson kept lesson time focused largely on instruction. One lesson time is 15 minutes generally for lower and upper secondary school. In elementary school, 45, not 50 minutes. One lesson normally consists of 3 phases: introduction, development, and conclusion phase. So I'll show you the real classroom lesson, right? And the next one, the 65% of Japanese lessons were judged to contain mostly basic content, while 7% were categorized as having a high number of the canonical ideas, for example, scientific facts, ideas, and knowledge that were presented publicly to the class, and 50% address ideas at theoretical level. So, next one, Japanese lesson emphasized coherent conceptual development of a few ideas using data and phenomena generated during the practical work to support the building of main ideas. These are few ideas very important. I'll show you that later. The conceptual focus of the Japanese science lesson was reflected in the large percent of the lessons that were organized primarily to make connection among ideas, evidence, and experience rather than presenting facts and definitions. The 57% of Japanese lessons made connections through an inquiry approach using data to build ideas inductively. Goal and summary statement that focus on question and main ideas. This is very important. Goal and summary statement that focus on question and main idea. I'll show you that later. The lesson coherence and conceptual inquiry approach were also evident in the ways that Japanese science teacher guided students' independent work on practical activities. Independent work means that practical activities such as experiment, observation conducted by in pairs or groups consists of 4 students normally. Those cases that 2 girls and 2 boys in Japan. Traditionally in Japan, the small group work, we say hankatsudo in Japanese, has been identified as an important activity in schools, including the subject lesson and other activities. For example, the cleaning the school and classroom. Those activities are conducted by small group work from elementary to lower secondary school. Small group working is very, very important in Japan, also in science lessons. I'll show you the picture later. After independent practical work activity, 55% of Japanese lessons typically included discussion of the observation made, data obtained, or possible conclusion, which led to the development of one big idea or conclusion in 34% of the lesson. Okay, you have to remember that one idea or one conclusion. It's very key point of the to know the Japanese lesson. I'll show you later. While the data and the phenomena played important role in developing main idea in Japanese science lessons, real life issues were useless. It's very big issues in the recent year, the science education society. We have to teach and deal with much more real life issues in science education. Okay, the next one, before and during and after practical activities, Japanese students were expected to carry out several inquiry actions. Japanese students sometimes asked to make predictions and hypotheses and give reason why. Teacher asked why. For their prediction, they organized and manipulated the data into graph, charts, or other forms in 36% of the lesson. In general, science teachers in Japan intended to produce an original worksheet, including the objective, procedural, format of the data writing. Another, in every practical activity, even textbooks illustrated how to conduct the practical activity. However, the style of the following the worksheet is sometimes criticized or ridiculed as cookbook or recipe style. Okay. %92% of lessons were taught by teachers who held undergraduate degree. Okay. Teachers who have held the degree of master or PhD are little in Japan. For example, the case of master degree holders in financial year 2010, just 10 years ago, only the 6.5% in lower secondary school, but 22.2% of upper secondary school has a master degree, and only the 3.9% elementary school, very, very lower level, because many European countries, the teacher must get a master degree, but in Japan, very low level. However, as you know, Japanese teacher works harder. Therefore, the student can get to the higher scores. And also, teachers in Japan reported spending more time for planning lessons. These factors are important for the considering about Japan's successful. Where do science teachers in Japan learn to conduct such an inquiry-based science lesson? And why do they spend much time and energy for preparing lessons? I'll show you the next session. The next session, we see the lesson study. In Japanese, 授業研究. This is very important practice. 授業 means lesson, and 研究 means study or research. Lesson in lesson study is the meaningful and manageable level of analysis by teachers or investigation, teaching and learning both. Kenshu means study and self-improvement of aspect of continuing professional development in service teacher education. Lesson study is a main component of Kenshu, particularly Konai Kenshu, in-house school-based professional development in Japanese, all right? But you remain only the lesson study, keyword lesson study, okay? Lesson study is conducted in many forms and venues. This picture is a scene of the open house lesson study. He is the teacher, science teacher of this class. These are students. These are observers of and participants of the open lesson studies, right? The lesson study conducted in the pre-service teacher training at the teaching practice. In Japan, the university students have to take a teaching practice. Mainly the third year or the fourth year teaching practice conducted in Japan, but maximum only the 4 weeks. Very, very short time of the teaching practice. In service teacher training, managed and sponsored by the national and the local government. And also, school-based continued professional development through collaboration and management with colleagues, in-house and open house Kenshu, Konai Kenshu, and Kokai Kenkyukai. This is the open house Kokai Kenkyukai. And the national and local teacher network, which are voluntary and independent of national and local government control. Okay, it's very, very important, especially in 1960s or 70s, very, very important practice. However, recent years, the teachers are so very, very busy. So teacher, it's very difficult for teacher to find out the time to take part in the voluntary and independent teacher training system, right? Okay, this is the process of a lesson study. Lesson study is divided into 3 phases. First phase, we say the preparation. The second phase is the research lesson. The third one is a reflective meeting or conference. This side, the pre-service teacher training conducted. And this side, in-service teacher training. So this picture is taken in this summertime at our attached secondary school. He is one of the student teachers. Also, he and she. There are 4 student teachers observe his colleague, their colleagues, and they are the upper secondary school student, right? And also, this case is the in-house. In this case, the in-house. He is a teacher of these classes, right? And other adult, you made the adult. You see the adult teachers about maybe the 10 or more. They are the teacher of this school, attended his lesson studies, right? And the third is a reflective meeting. He is a mentor. The other is his student teachers, right? They are conducting a reflective meeting. And also this is this case is the open house. Open house. He is a teacher who gave a research lesson, and they are advisor from university and the local board of education. They are participant of this open lesson house from other school, right? So at the preparation phases, there are very, very important activities, right? Okay. Anyway, before moving to the next slide, I have to say that Japanese teachers spend much time and energy in this phase, this preparation phase. They spent a lot of time and energy in this phase. Anyway, I move to the next slide. So the first phase, we say the preparation. There are 2 main activities. One is the researching and developing a teaching material with a worksheet. The another one is making and revising a lesson plan. I will show you the typical Japanese lesson plan. They must be done simultaneously and in an interactive manner. So, both not independently, right? Cooperate with these activities. So, the first one is researching and developing teaching material with the 教材 and 教材開発. 教材 means the teaching materials. 研究 means the study or research, and 開発 means the development. In the phase, the process of lesson study, 教材開発 and 教材研究 and 教材開発 are in investigation and development process of teaching materials for teaching and learning, and normally include the following process. The first one, reflection and interpretation on a variety of teaching and learning material, such as course of study, national curriculum, standard, textbooks, material produced previously by themselves and others, and reference practice. In this process, Professor D. Sherman defined as a preparation and representation as a model of pedagogical reasoning and action, right? The second one, next step, the research, the topic from the scientific and pedagogical or didactic values. Sherman said preparation. The third step, examination and determination of several teaching methods or approaches, including the practical work. Sherman said selection. The fourth one, the appreciation of student learning, including their misconception, misunderstanding, prior knowledge of the student, and anticipate the student response and behavior to activities. Sherman said adaptation. Anticipate student response is very, very important for Japanese teachers for making a lesson plan. The final step, development of teaching material for their student based on 教材研究 mentioned above, with creating a worksheet for practical work. Sherman said tailoring. Okay. The next one, making and revising a lesson plan. A lesson plan, I'll show you the following slides. It's not only for teachers or student teachers who give a lesson, who gives a lesson in the classroom, but also for students and for observers of the lesson. For example, a senior management group and other school teachers. Especially a student teacher and or a novice teacher has an important opportunity to consider on the meaning of teaching, subject matter knowledge, including teaching materials about students and teaching method, through engaging in researching and developing a teaching material, 教材研究, and making and revising a lesson plan. We say 学習指導案の作成. In lesson study, our teacher makes and revises the lesson plan several times, collaboratively with our teachers and advice from educators such as professors. However, the final revised lesson plan may be not perfect. Therefore, observing student response in the classroom carefully, a teacher sometimes quickly makes minor changes to the lesson plan in his or her head, right? In the case of a student teacher, collaboratively with other student teachers and based on the advice by the mentor when they make a lesson plan. This is a real lesson plan. Sorry, the background is Japanese, but I translate into England at very important point. This is the lesson plan, upper secondary school biology. Okay. Here is the date, class, name of the unit. Okay. Here. And from here to about the unit. About the unit divided 3 parts. The first one is the view of this unit. For example, target of this unit, nature of this unit, important concepts studied in this unit, both from scientific and pedagogical value. At this time, teacher must read the course of study. The second unit, view of learners. For example, student characteristics, knowledge learned previously, name concept about the student. I told that unit perspective is very important because a long-term perspective allows teacher to be critical about what is important in lessons. All right. The next one. Okay, this is the unit. The third part of about the unit. The view of instruction. For example, teachers' ideas for instruction of this unit, but based on the first and the second, major views of unit and views of student, right? This is the instruction, views of instruction. Here, the scheme of works, a plan, instruction, and assessment, included assessment. This unit consists of 20 lessons. From here, it's only the one lesson, today's lessons, right? Here, in this case, 2 objects of today's lessons. From here, assessment criteria and assessment method in this one lesson, right? So this is the one lesson, only the one lesson, 50 minutes, okay? This column, the first column here, the second column here, the third column. The first column, lesson phases. As I told before, one lesson divided into 3 phases. Introduction phase, from here to here is the development phase. The final one is the conclusion phase. Normally, introduction phase, it takes for 5 to 10 minutes. The second development phase, it takes about 30 or 40 minutes. The final one, conclusion phase, it takes 5 or 15 minutes. Some cases, 15 minutes, and mainly 10 minutes. Right? The second column, this column, teacher described student learning activities, anticipated student thinking and response, and practical work here, right here. Around here, teacher write one question or one task of this lesson, right? One task or the one question, and one conclusion, okay? One conclusion. During question to conclusion, teacher describe the practical work, right? This is the second column. The final column, the third column, teacher describes the teacher's activities and assessment. Assessment include criteria and methods. Okay. For example, this area the criteria. The criteria, and this is the method and criteria. The bottom column, And this is a note, a textbook, the name, subtext, and resources and equipment and apparatus. All right. Okay, this is this is a lesson plan. Okay, only the one lesson. Okay, therefore the student teacher must make and create this lesson plan, especially this one lesson. Okay, this is very important. I will show you the student lesson plan. Okay, this is a worksheet. This is the worksheet produced by these teachers, right? Like these teachers. This is the title of the practical work. This is the question. This is a question. One question, only the one question, and or task. And there is no written Japanese because hypothesis or prediction written by students here. Okay. This area is apparatus or equipment of the observations. This is the procedure or the method with the caution for the observation here. Okay. From here is the data and the results, taking picture or drawing at sketches. Other cases, organize and manipulated data into graph or chart or other forms here, right? Many secondary school teachers in Japan have traditionally created their own original worksheets for every practical work, even textbook describe clearly the aim, procedure, discussion, or practical work. This is very important for the Japanese science teacher in Japan. Okay, next one. And this is the part of the worksheet. Here, the personal idea was based on the result of a practical work observation. In this case, the student write down the idea individually. The second one is a group idea based on discussion. Discussion is very, very important. This group discussion. For example, I told you before, small group work is very important, and also the one group consists of the 2 girls and the 2 boys. 2 girls, and the 2 boys, right? This is the worksheet, real worksheet, right? And then after the discussion or group ideas, each group presented the idea in the whole class, and afterwards, whole class discussion will be held. Okay, and finally reflected or deepened personal or individual idea after the hearing the presentation of each group idea and the whole class discussion. Every student must write down their final ideas here, right? This is a worksheet produced by the teachers. Okay, next one. This is a worksheet, one hour worksheet for the lesson described by the student teachers. This is a reflective meeting. He is a mentor, and they are the student teacher of these mentors. Okay, this is the same first column, second column, and the third column, and also here is notes. Okay, and this part is a comment by mentors, and also the black colored letter means the student teachers question to their mentors, or red color is a comment by mentors. Okay, this is the one process, 1 hour lesson plan by our student teachers or student teachers. Okay. Anyway, lesson study and other professional development. For example, the workshop lesson study is to see it as a process that starts with questions and driven by participants, including advisors. Whereas professional development workshops often start with answers and driven by outside school experts. Action research. In the case of the action research, lesson studies emphasize that process involving collaboration with colleagues, sometimes include outside advisors, and the common focus. Whereas action research examines the teacher's own teaching and student learning by engaging in a research project in their classroom, and working with colleagues is usually optional, right? Okay, from here to the conclusion, less 15 minutes. So I'll show you the conclusion first. Science lesson in Japan. Before the lesson, science teachers in Japan spent much time and energy to engage in researching and developing a teaching material, we say kyōzai kenkyu, and making and revising a lesson plan with the worksheet of the lesson. We say gakushu shidou an no sakusei. From here to the one lesson. As you know, the one lesson is divided into the three phases. The first one, introduction phase. Science teachers in Japan make students reflect the prior lesson and motivate students to stimulate their interest in today's topics. It takes 5 or 10 minutes. The second one, the main phase, with development phase. Students are informed a question or task that they will be engaged in the investigation or inquiry approach. Then students are asked to make prediction or hypothesis. You see you saw the worksheet, right? And also at advanced level, students are rarely asked to formulate their own research questions in groups and design their investigation with their teacher's advice. The continue the development phase. During and after practical activity, students are directed or are guided by a teacher or the worksheet, some cases the textbook, in manipulating the data gained into graphs, charts, or other forms for interpreting the data. After interpreting the data, students in groups or pairs discuss about the question, task, based on practical work made, data obtained, which led to the one idea or one conclusion. In this process, each group present or explain their idea or conclusion, and they discuss about them in the whole class. Therefore, the Japanese student much more time in engaging in discussion, right? Conclusion phrase. The conclusion of the lesson is given by mainly by teacher. The teacher informs the topic of the next lesson. Here is very important. Excluding reporting the practical activities. In general, science teachers in Japan rarely assign the homework. When I was a doctoral student, I taught the several science at the lower and upper secondary school. I never assigned the homework, excluding the request to reporting, right? So it takes 5 or 10 minutes. Japanese science lesson in the lower secondary school emphasize a few ideas by making connection among the experience, ideas, patterns, and explanation, data and phenomena to support the idea being presented. Conclusion to the lesson study. Lesson study is historically and strongly embedded in Japanese teacher and professional culture, both in pre and in service teacher education, and based on the professional learning community. Lesson study is an evidence-based approach to improve teaching and learning and formal practitioner research, in which teachers investigate problems of teaching and learning in the classroom. Through lesson, opportunities for collaboration and reflection with colleagues, and also coherence with other learning activity going on in daily life of the school are important features of effective continuing professional development in Japan. Therefore, not only novice teachers, but also experienced teachers can learn a lot of things through taking part in lesson study. Student teachers in pre-service teacher training learn and experience a nuance of lesson study and the norm of the teaching profession through the teaching practice in pre-service teacher education. However, lesson study is potentially effective for developing teacher professional knowledge base through collaborative reflection, and it must be one of the improved vehicles for teachers' continuing professional development. On the other hand, we have to recognize that the standardization of lesson study led to its stylization and rigidity, and this result in it becoming routine work. Conclusion 3, another point. This is the final point of my presentation. One of the key to uncovering the characteristic of science lesson in Japan is the science teacher and the professional learning community, and the essential relationship between the teachers and the reflect the practitioner in the professional learning communities and researchers, just like me, university professors. The theory of teacher knowledge, for example, the Showman showed, is theoretical tools to analyze lesson study as well as lessons in classroom. Maybe what is required to be bridge the gap between the practice and the research, both in pre and in service teacher education or training, not only in Japan, but also in other countries. Okay? Descure Edrim. I'm not sure how the pronunciation. This is the reference. Thank you very much.
You are very, very welcome.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Izosaki. You
Any
gave
question?
us very useful and wonderful information about especially lesson study system
Yeah,
and lesson analysis.
yeah.
We also need this type of system and this type of culture.
Yeah.
If you want, I would like to ask first question to you, then the other people probably they will ask some questions.
Yes, please.
When you start to this system, lesson analysis system in your classroom, and why?
So, why?
Yeah.
It's very not so easy. Well, every teacher in Japan, to have a good opportunity to make a lesson plan. Lesson plan includes so many teacher knowledge. Teacher knowledge, for example, the subject matter knowledge and the PC, the PCK, pedagogical content knowledge. And also one lesson plan included so many type of the teacher knowledge produced by the Showman and other researchers. So it is very easy to analyze what type of the teacher knowledge included in this lesson plans, and also other cases. The teacher discuss with his or her colleagues, and also sometimes ask the professor at the university, and also the consultant teacher of local board of education. Those cases, they check what kind of the teacher knowledge included and advise the change other materials and knowledge and so on. And also, especially in the lesson study, is very, very important. But I guess many teachers in Japan not created and make a lesson plan sometimes. Okay. However, lesson study, as a lesson study, all the teachers who will give a research lesson must create a lesson plan. Okay.
Thank you very much. Evet, now anybody can ask question to Professor Izosaki. Is there any question? Yeah, don't hesitate. You can ask.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
You said that in Japan you are doing the reflective meetings after the lessons, works in lessons.
Lesson study, yeah, after that, yeah.
Are there these meetings with the teacher of the lesson, or there are some mentors for the reflective meetings?
Yeah, okay. I'll show you the picture, right? Okay. This is the scene of the reflective meeting, right? Okay. You see the two pictures, yeah. After the research lesson, every lesson study, lessons, in this case is the lesson studies, not all regular lesson, okay? After the research lesson, the reflective meeting will be held the same days, okay? And first of all, one teacher who give a research lesson, explain the idea and the policy of the lesson, okay? Another and afterwards, the participants of these teachers from other school and the same school will ask and giving a comment. And finally, advisory teacher will give some cases give a little bit lecture, short lecture, brief lecture on these topics. Okay, this is the in-service teacher education cases. This cases is the pre-service during the teaching practice. The first of all, the one of the student teachers who gave a research lesson, in this case he explained about his idea and the policy of this lessons. And as a student teacher, some give question about this lesson and also give a comment. And finally, the mentor teachers will give a comments on this lesson. But before then, this and the first pages on the process of the preparation. In this case, especially in this case, the teacher who gave a research lesson contacted so often with advisors to create the lesson plan, okay, just before the research lesson. Several times, some cases 5 or 6 times. In this case, he came to my office 5 or 6 times, and we are discussing how to reorganize the lesson plan. Then the final revised lesson plan, they delivered this lesson. At the meeting, some cases, advisory teacher comment before about the discussion which was held at the preparation phases. Okay, very concentrate on the discussion.
Thank you. Is there any question, another question? Please, don't hesitate.
I Hosam.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Okay. Thank you very much for the opportunity, Prof. Salif Chefni and also Prof. Tetsuo Isozaki. I am Anthony from Indonesia. You know that in Indonesia we have several training and project about lesson study from Japan. And then the main problem in Asia is the teacher are reluctant to see.
Sorry. Maybe stop your.
Yeah, sound is gone, I think.
Maybe the connection trouble.
Yeah, connecting problem. There is a. Yeah.
Could you, Professor Sari, could you give her my comments? I will next invited speech in Indonesia in December.
Yeah,
she may contact with me to. I'll show you in detail of this Indonesian conference. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Also, we should thanks to Anthony from the Indonesia. Another question. We have just a couple of minutes left. If any question, especially about the lesson planning, because very important subject is subject. If I would like,
I have a question.
Yeah, please.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So first, thanks a lot, Professor Isozaki, for your inspiring speech. I'm wondering, what is the role of science education for teachers to plan their lessons, their science lessons? I mean, do they use science curriculum while conducting these lesson studies?
Well, the course of the special science curriculum never required to the lesson study, but the lesson study is one of the continued professional development in Japan. It depends on the school cultures. Okay, some school, especially our attached secondary school, our attached university secondary school, every year they engage in they conducted the open house lesson studies and also several times on the in-house lesson studies. That cases, they first of all, for example, the science curriculum, of course, the topics mainly conducted how to improve the student learning, and also in other cases, the connected the topic to the science curriculum to improve the science curriculum, okay? And as you know, every 10 years, the course of study revised every 10 years. Just after the course of study, just newly revised course of study opened. So many schools in Japan conducted the lesson study how to newly revised course of study to fix the school curriculum. Okay, those cases are very, very important topics of the science curriculum improvement based on the newly revised course of study. Okay, so many schools connected the topic of the lesson study to the improvement of science curriculum. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much for your answer. Yes, thanks.
Thank you so much. 1 hour almost finished. You made very good preparation for this keynote, for this speech. I would like to say to everyone, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. If you have any question, please send me an email. Professor Sari, you may ask to the Professor Sari, and know my email
I will post
address.
you. Yeah, I will send you.
Yeah, anytime.
Thank you very much. You gave your time, valuable time to us. I hope we will meet face by face in Turkey in near future.
Yes, sure. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Sayonara.